From the first, CNN has been able to devote 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to covering the news. And that means plenty of time for stories that develop over weeks, months, even years. Our next story is still unfolding in epic proportions all over the world.
We had a major commitment to cover medical news before medical news was as big as it is today. So when the AIDS story surfaced, it was a natural. This is not a pretty story. This is not one of those you feel good about. It's one that you feel it's one of those have to do, not want to do stories.
In San Francisco alone, 109 AIDS cases have been reported in the last 2 years, all in the gay community. 35 victims have died.
I came to the city just as the AIDS epidemic was exploding. It was foreign news in the other cities where I'd lived. But here, it was right at the heart of things. It was terrifying. That's all you could say. The most vital element of this society, young, virile men, were dropping left and right. The most energetic part of our populace was disappearing. So we were all affected.
So far, researchers are baffled by AIDS. Some experts believe AIDS is an infection transmitted sexually or through blood products. Others think the process is more subtle.
Despite the fact that we were told sexual transmission or blood, it was one of those unknown areas where you're thinking to yourself, that's what the health people are saying today. But maybe 5 years from now, they'll find out that breathing the same air that somebody with AIDS might infect you.
Doctors don't know what causes AIDS or how it is transmitted. There is no cure.
Consequently, there became some fear in doing stories with AIDS patients in the mid-'80s. Fear of the unknown and fear that you might contract it. And consequently, whenever we would go out and do interviews with AIDS patients, either in their homes or at the hospital, I developed this habit of grabbing the light kit with my right hand when we'd walk into the house or the hospital room, because I had a fear of shaking hands with somebody who had AIDS.
In the same time period, increases in the number of new AIDS cases were reported in California, particularly San Francisco and Los Angeles, and in Dallas, Texas.
Some of the people that I interviewed really touched my heart in terms of their agony and pain, but had come to grips with the fact that they were going to die. And it was very heart-wrenching.
The point of the game is to extend our lives as long as possible, to be alive when the cure is found.
Many gay Catholics are confused that the same church which preaches that the gay lifestyle is a sin is offering its hand in compassion and assistance.
After a few months, I was doing an AIDS story almost every day, because almost every day there was some new facet of the disease, be it social implications or political implications or fiscal implications. Somehow AIDS was affecting the community, and every day there was a new story.
Mr. Hudson is being evaluated and treated for complications of acquired immune deficiency syndrome.
Rock Hudson was a great shocker for most of the general public, I believe. Those of us in the news business knew that he had AIDS for a long time and was dying. But in those days, you didn't report it until they were dead. And so it was a big, quick education for the viewing public about the extent of how far AIDS has gone.
Ryan White's ordeal began in 1984 when he was 13 years old. Doctors told the Indiana teenager he had contracted AIDS from tainted blood products used to treat his hemophilia.
It was through Ryan White that most people, many people, learned about AIDS and learned that you don't get it from touching, shaking hands with Ryan White.
White became the focus of a national controversy about whether children with AIDS should be allowed to attend school.
And he was really the first one who was, for want of a better explanation, a middle-class, white middle-class kid from the suburbs. And people didn't think people like that got AIDS.
When he died, a lot of us died with him. He had dignity, he had pride, and he had this wonderful childish grin that he carried around with him that I think about it all the time. I see him right now smiling.
Gary Christopher, Jean Earl, Mike.
The calamity seems to have either passed or been mitigated. People are still contracting AIDS and people are still dying from AIDS in our communities, but at a significantly lower rate. And there's a great deal more hope given the modern medicines now.
Because of the HIV virus that I have attained, I will have to retire from the Lakers today. But I am going to go on, I'm going to beat it, and I'm going to have fun. Okay, so thank you again, and I'll see you soon.
Joining me now from Los Angeles, all-time basketball great Magic Johnson, who made that announcement in 1991. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
How do you explain it? You were HIV positive. You've never contracted AIDS, right?
Right.
How do you explain it, Magic?
Well, the virus acts different in everybody. So if you have the virus and I have the virus, that doesn't mean that you're going to, if you get AIDS, that don't mean I'm going to get AIDS. So it acts different in everybody. It attacks everybody's immune system differently. My immune system is very strong. And I think because of my frame of mind and I work out and the medicine as well.
How much? You take a lot of medication?
No, not a lot at all. Only two different types of medicine. They got a combination, as they call it, cocktail, and that's it. Twice a day, that's it.
Why did you go public with it?
Well, because of probably all those stories that you just ran before I came on, is just to help other people, to let them know how big AIDS is and how people are not only, I think at that time everybody thought it was just a gay person's disease, and no, it's everybody's disease. And that's why I wanted to come out to help other people and to help educate people about HIV and AIDS.
Do you remember your first reaction, Magic, when you were told you were HIV positive?
Oh, no question about it. I was devastated. They had called me back from a road trip in Utah. We were playing an exhibition game there. And he called me in, and the doctor, Dr. Melman, sat me down and told me that I had the HIV virus. And, you know, you just almost just hit the floor. But I was more worried not about myself as much as I was Cookie and my baby, because at that time, Cookie was pregnant with our son, EJ.
Is EJ fine?
Yeah, EJ is fine and Cookie is fine.
And you have no indication of AIDS at all, right?
No, no, not at all, not even close.
Do you fear you're going to get it?
No, no, I'm never worried about that one moment of all of this. You know, what is it, 9 years from, you know, later, and because I work out every day, I take my medicine, but my frame of mind, I've never thought one moment that I was going to die, and I've always have met every challenge in my life, and I think because I came out, that was probably the most important thing, because I didn't have to live with that inside. Because a lot of times what the doctors say, you must keep stress out of your life. And I think when I announced, that kept all the stress out of my life.
I know you're an activist now. Do you think the sense of urgency has faded in this country, that people aren't as worried about it as they were 5, 6 years ago?
I think you're right, because it was almost like it was the thing then.
Yeah.
And it's not the thing now. But if you look, the numbers are still up there. And then don't even look in our country. You look in Africa and some of these other countries, and this is even worse. I mean, 100 times worse in Africa. So I think, too, what's the educational part is the government got involved and educated people. They made more drugs available for people. And that's helped, but we still need to do more.
It's an epidemic in South Africa.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. And you don't see how they're going to rebound from it either. I mean, it keeps getting passed on and on and on. And, you know, you almost cringe to say, how can we help? And you just don't know how. You can.
And you think your personality's had a lot to do with it. You're always upbeat Magic Johnson.
No question about it. I know it has. because I just kept going. I kept living. And I think a lot of people, when they find out they have the virus, they stop living. They give up.
Not you.
Not me, not at all. And I think Elizabeth Glazier really helped me out a lot.
Thanks so much, Magic. Always great seeing you.
And happy anniversary to you, too.
Thank you.
All right.
Still ahead, ABC's Peter Jennings and a lot more.
It was March 24th when North America experienced its worst ever oil spill. More than 10 million gallons of crude spewed into the waters of Prince William Sound, polluting hundreds of miles of pristine shoreline and killing thousands of birds and hundreds of sea animals.
I guess the biggest thing that really struck me about being there was, on the one side, the environmental impact and devastation that it caused, and at the same time seeing the most beautiful sights I'd ever seen in my entire life. It was a very stark contrast of looking at water that's polluted with oil and looking up and seeing the most beautiful mountains. It's like being in heaven almost.
When this oil spill happened to such a beautiful place, the calamity got bigger and bigger and bigger. Scientists say they do not know and may not know for months how many animals died as a result of the spill, and they say it may be years before they know if or how well those populations bounced back.
At some point in time, the cleanup operation that seemed immense, and watching hundreds, if not thousands, of people along shoreline with sponges and towels in their hands, picking up rocks and washing them off and putting them down and picking up another one. And when you looked and would see an entire coastline blackened, think, this is going to take them forever. You know, they'll never get this done.
It clearly will take months of massive effort to restore the natural beauty of this wondrous part of the world, and possibly years before the wounds of this man-made disaster begin to heal. Greg Lamont, CNN, Valdez, Alaska.